Piss about nothing but the time. Clint Bama wins.
Give me Alabama to break.
If somebody takes what's yours, and this is our game, it's our game. So that makes this shit personal.
We in here tonight, guys, and it's personal, and it's going down. We got a special guest with us here on Sunday night, Talk'n Bama as well. JB, I'm going to let you introduce him tonight, man. Who we got with us tonight, JB?
Hey, man, welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Sunday night Talk'n Bama. So, without further ado, y'all know the other guys on the panel, Stephen L. Smith right there, and Herb, the better Ragsdale. But we see another face on the panel right here with the Columbia hat. My man right here with Cover Crimson. He is one of the greats. His name is Clint Lamb, but you can call him Clint Goat. Ladies and gentlemen, Clint Lamb, welcome to the show, brother.
Yes, sir. Gotta be honest, it's one of the best hype moments I've had in my career. That was fun, man. Clint Goat. I like the sound of that. I don't feel like that's gonna stick, but for this moment, I'll at least appreciate it. I appreciate you guys having me on.
I just want to be the first to say it, but yeah, man. Hey, thank you for joining us.
That was saying Clint Goat.
I've known Clint for a while, man. This guy here really have enjoyed his rise to where he is and covering this program. Clint's thorough, man.
I appreciate
Love Clint,
it, man.
Love his work too, brother. Herb, how we doing tonight? Right there in the bottom. I ain't forgot about you, big dog. How we living tonight, bro?
Oh no, man. I'm in the presence of royalty, so I'm just kind of like in awe, taking it in at first. You know what I'm saying? So it's when you add this panel and you add Clint to it. I mean, if you're not tuning in, what's wrong with you?
Hey, man. We're going to find out. We got a great one tonight. I'm JT. I'm your host. Before we get kicked off tonight, guys, JB, let the beautiful people know what they need to have at 8-8 coming up this weekend and what they need to have. No matter where you are, Herb's going to let you know. No matter where you're at, where you need to have.
Even if you're in witness protection?
What you need to have.
Yeah. So as y'all can see, everybody up on the panel has a title towel except Clint. We're going to have to get him one. So make sure you guys watching, if you haven't already, go to whitwillsports.com. Use the promo code STANDARD to get you a nice discount, courtesy of your favorite Bama network, the Bama Standards.
Yes, sir. Check them out today, guys. Right there at the bottom. Whitwell Sports. Check them out. And for our main sponsor, guys, have you ever dreamed of having beautiful stone in or around your home? Well, look no further than Real Rock Stone right here, guys. Check them out. They have a beautiful natural selection. And if you let them know that the Bama Standard sent you, you get 10% off your first order right there, live, realrockstone.com. They're located in Aniata, Alabama. Great company, great product. Make sure you check them guys out today. Link at the bottom, guys. We got a great show in tune with you guys tonight. Like I said before, we got some things to talk about. But before we get into all the new Bama stuff, we got a Bama legend that just hung the cleats up. He has played a couple different NFL teams, most notably the Atlanta Falcons, and obviously the time he spent at Alabama with Nick Saban and what he did there, and kind of honestly started the dynasty run with the recruiting classes and people coming to Bama and choosing Bama. Julio Jones, an awesome season. The man, you can't take nothing away from him. He's a prototype wide receiver. And I ain't gonna get up here and babble too much, but you guys know the stats, man. The dude's accolades are beyond amazing. Pro Bowl selection 7. And from 2014 to 2019, the dude was a Pro Bowl. Dude was playing awesome at a high level. You can never take away what he did. Also, what he did at Bama as well. Honestly, the yardage and the stats may not show what he actually did on the field. And there's so many other things as well. JB, how do you feel about this Julio Jones retirement? It really isn't a shock to many people, but how do you feel about this, brother?
All right, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet, man. Julio Jones, in my opinion, if you take all the accolades away Of course, Smitty, Devontae Smith is the most acclaimed wide receiver. He's got the Heisman Trophy and everything to go with it. But Julio Jones very well is the greatest wide receiver, talent-wise, physical-wise, all the traits that we've seen, right, at Alabama. And arguably a top 10 wide receiver in NFL, right? And I don't want to go too far as top 5, but he could possibly be top 5. I'm just going to say top 10. Julio Jones, great career, and I hate he didn't get that Super Bowl, the Falcons. But I'm also glad because I'm a Tom Brady guy, and I was going for the game. But that's neither here nor there, right? Julio Jones is great. And I wish he would have got it with Tom Brady when he went to Tampa that year, but he came a year too late. He should have been on that 2020 team. But injuries, he had a lot of hamstring injuries, a lot of injuries later in his career. I kind of figured he was going to hang out the cleats sooner or later. And, man, all I can say is greatness, man. Greatness. Julio Jones started the great wide receiver run at Alabama. Yeah. From this era, the Nick Saban era of great wide receivers. Julio Jones was probably the most important recruit Nick Saban's got coming in, starting out and turned the tide, so to speak. And I agree. Championships. So that's all I got to say. Julio Jones, man, much respect, much, much love. I enjoyed watching him play. He had his best years with the Falcons and in the NFL, and at Bama he was just great. There's nothing bad I can say about Julio Jones. So no, pass it on to one of you guys and y'all take it.
Clint, I'll let you go because you're our guest, man. So how did you feel hearing about this? Obviously, like I said, it's not really a shock. And then what's a Julio moment that you like, whether it be at Bama, what's in Atlanta, or whatever. One of my favorites was when that knee catch when he was like falling down in Atlanta and he like fell on the one and caught it. That was like mind blowing, man.
It's unfortunate because he kind of went Super Bowl ring chasing right there at the end of his career. Yeah. He was a year late with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and he was a year early with the Philadelphia Eagles. Mm-hmm. So really wish he could have gotten one of those. But I don't think it really takes away anything from his legacy. Just what he did. How many guys really in college football history had the opportunity to help build the path for one of the greatest dynasties of all time? And having that role at that time, perfect timing as far as his arrival in 2008. It feels like that, watching his career at Alabama, watching the way that he dominated in a different era of college football. And then watching that, a lot of people kind of questioned if some of what he was able to do as far as the consistency with the hands and all that stuff when he was coming out, being able to make it to the NFL and just not only having the right physical tools to be a future Hall of Famer, but having the right mindset. It was a very special combination that you don't get too often, the willingness to put the team in front of him because, let's be honest, a lot of wide receivers, one of the big knocks on them is they can be divas. And so, it wasn't just what he did from a physical standpoint and the mindset, the greatness, mindset that he had, but it was also, the fact that he was always team first, always willing to do whatever it took to help the team win, both on and off the field. And I think that's pretty cool. And one of the things that I can remember when I was going through the recruiting process myself back in 2008, 2009, and I had a buddy that ended up playing for Nick Saban, and we were sitting in Saban's office, and he was talking about Julio. And one of the things he said that I'll never forget is he said one of the things that I love about Julio is that he was 10-1 rather be sitting at the fishing hole than the club. And so you never had to worry about him, putting himself at risk, putting the team at risk, putting your organization at risk, because he had this mentality where it was all work. It was doing for others as far as charitable work and all of that stuff. We act like it's we're talking about his funeral or something. We're not. It's just the end of his playing career. He's going to be great with whatever he continues to do. But it's been pretty special to watch because you can directly link him to what really Nick Saban was able to build at Alabama. He was a huge part of that.
So I've said this over and over again about our leadership on our current team, and you just kind of spoke about it right when you said about Julio, and it's called self-integrity and self-accountability. So if you don't have self-integrity, taking care of yourself, doing the things that for yourself to make sure you're going to be the 100% player, you need to be the 100% person you need to be for this team. Also, accountability, being able to like, yeah, that was my bad. That wasn't the coach's fault. I don't need to get mad at him for yelling at me right now. I messed up. Self-accountability. That's what you literally just described Julio to a T of that type of player. And that's why Nick Saban loved him. That's why so many other coaches did. And that's why he was so great and such a great career. And the dude is going to be phenomenal at whatever he does. I hope I see him on like at least like Fox Sundays, one of them shows. I'd love to see him on like pregame shows talking ball or something like that. Maybe even college game day. That probably isn't up his alley, but that would be seeing something like that would be nice, man. But Herb, I'll let you tell us your initial thoughts on this Julio Jones retirement and a Julio moment maybe you liked at Bama or at Atlanta or Tampa Bay, wherever wherever it may have been.
Yeah. It's kind of like JB said, you did kind of expect it. He's been banged up the last couple years. So I think the unfortunate thing about football is you never really get to go out when you want. It just seems like the guys these days, you might hang on maybe a year or two later, but I don't think that can erase any of the impact that he has had.
No.
Like, we've covered it plenty of times. First big, recruit for Saban and kind of opened the door. And I think you look at his NFL stats and you're like, the league wasn't as pass happy when he was first in there as it is right now. And you think what a guy like Julio in his prime could do today compared to this. I mean, dude was just a beast, and he always came up. I wish he had won the Super Bowl. No offense to the Pats and to Brady, but at 28-3, he did all he could. He was still the leading receiver. Only 4 targets in that game, 87 yards. He was doing everything he can. Even some tough catches, I think, down the stretch when they were trying to get back in it. So Julio was just a beast, man. He was a beast. I would love to see him today in one of these offenses and the kind of numbers he could put up. So, and it's funny, anytime I've clicked on his stuff lately, the first play you always see is that little LSU one where he comes down the sideline, looks like it might just be a little pass, and he just giddy-ups past everybody.
My favorite part is Vern says, when he hits that sideline and Vern says, Julio Jones gets past the safety. And as soon as he says that, I remember Tuesday, I was like, he's gone. But now that was the one play that Patrick Peterson got put to the sidelines that whole game. And that's smart coaching. He went to the sideline, get Julio the ball, bro. Get him the ball. And look what happened.
I'm always fond memories of him, man. And it's amazing when a guy like that retires and all the articles first thing is, first ballot Hall of Famer. We're not even gonna debate it. Let's just go. Love to see that. Love to see much respect to him, man. And whatever he does next, man, I'm on board. I agree. I'd love to see him out here.
Recent retirees or however you will word that for NFL players. If you look, Brady obviously is the top. Like, yep, duh, he's Hall of Famer. I think Julio's like right there. It was I don't even think it was like, like, I don't even think that was like a thought. It was more like a check box. Like, we just need to do the paperwork, So I'm with you, Herb. 100% Hall of Famer, great career, college and pros. Stephen M. Smith, wrap us up right here, brother. How are we feeling about this, and what's a moment you like?
I'm just proud that Julio ended his pro career mentally intact, right? Because of everything in regards to CTE and head injuries. And
good look.
The fact that Julio ended without having that, right? Yes, he went through some bumps and some bruises with hamstring and foot and maybe an ankle here or there. But the fact that mentally Julio leaves the game, I'm good upstairs. That's the blessed part for me. He leaves the game. I'm good upstairs. I know I'm going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I put in more than my fair share in the league. Now I can go and use my mind to have my money make money. Now I can use my mind to pour into the next generation, because you got to think University of Alabama could make a phone call. Hey, Julio, come on back home and help out your alma mater in some way, shape, or form. Maybe in player personnel, could be. Maybe just as somebody to pour into the next wave of wide receivers. Who better to do that than Julio Jones, where Alabama is concerned? And a guy that, like I mentioned, ambassador of Alabama in college, tremendous career in the NFL. But for me, thrilled that he, one of the few that leaves the game with, I don't have head issue.
I like that too, Stephen M. And I think that's a good point to look at. That I don't think that a lot of people probably didn't look at or think about. That's a great way to look at it. There's a lot of contact. He played in the era before all these hits where the everything now is like a flag now. So he played in the era where you got popped, and he was at a position that wasn't protected as much.
He did some popping too. He did some popping too. There's a couple of times he didn't mind headhunting a little bit himself.
I've seen those crackbacks, boy. Yeah, you are correct. And he is no little dude. He is like a Tyreek Hill, but bigger, a bigger Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill said that himself. I was watching a clip on that today, actually. And I thought about it. I was like, yeah, he kind of is a bigger Tyreek Hill. Like, I mean, the dude is a beast. That'll kind of wrap us up on Julio there, guys. I don't want to, spend too much on that, guys. Julio, great player for Bama, great player in the league. Wish him nothing but the best. And hope to see him around Bama some more. Maybe that'd be that, like you just said. Maybe Bama calls him, Stephen M. Like, hey, come on back, show these boys how to run these routes, And we got Julio on the sidelines. That'd be something nice, man. But we're gonna move right here on to the next topic, guys. Alabama scrimmage. Number 2 recap right here. There's a lot of things to digest here. Couple things to look at. Obviously, everybody wants to know the quarterback situation. There's so many other things to talk about too in this. And we got Clint with us right here that's had eyes on this and been able to see things from the jump. So, Clint, tell us who's on the rise. How does that running back room look? Maybe, what wide receivers showing out. A lot of people going to know that quarterback situation. You can throw your thoughts out there. And what we've been seeing, a lot of people has asked about the D-line as well, so just give us some initial updates about the scrimmage game that you've seen kind of take place here.
Well, I think the first thing is just the growth from Ty Simpson. Every time you talk to somebody, and there's certain things that you kind of hear from everybody. You're hearing a lot about Latsir Brooks. Every time I seem to be talking to somebody, they're bringing up Daniel Hill, which I find interesting. Edric Hill was another one. So if you got Hill in your last name, you're doing well right now. I mean, I've even heard Nakai Hill Green.
Justin Hill.
Nakai Hill Green is doing, he's coming on strong. But, with Ty Simpson, it's like one of the biggest things that he's done is the command of the offense, the respect of the locker room, but also his ability to move on from mistakes. That was very crippling early in his career, was his inability to move past things that he did wrong. And that was, when Nick Saban talked about, the cake baking analogy and kind of, some guys just take a little bit longer. It was some things as far as what he's seeing, what he's not seeing, the internal clock hanging on the football a little bit too long. But more than anything, it was just learn to play another day or to, play another down. And that's something that he has really done a good job of. Like, he threw an interception in this scrimmage and it didn't phase him. And you can tell that it didn't phase him. The confidence is still there. And so, someone that's been around this long, they've seen what it's supposed to look like. They've seen in some ways what it's not supposed to look like. He's had a lot of different play callers throughout, at this point, he's now with his 4th play caller since he got to Alabama. But, I think in a lot of ways it's going to benefit him for the next level. You got to start with the growth that he's had. He's not the only quarterback that's doing good things. We've heard Keelan Russell's doing well. Austin Mack has been kind of up and down, but he's still a really young player. So that's not overly surprising. But Daniel Hill at running back, obviously it's Jam Miller and Richard Young. Those are probably your top 2. But you had Dre Washington that you added from the transfer portal. You've got, a top 60, top 70 recruit in AK Deer. Obviously Kevin Riley was a former top 100 recruit.
Yeah.
A lot of ability and talent in that running back room. And yet Daniel Hill, who's the lowest rated out of any of them, not named Dre Washington, he's been, kind of making some headway. And I think with that, with the way that Alabama's offense is currently set up, with the fact that it's probably going to be a little bit not pass happy, but more so filtered through more the traditional run game, and then a lot more passing volume. The offensive line, some of it was related to stack boxes and the way that the quarterback played last year. Some of it was, the offensive line's inability to get a consistent push. Some of it was the inability by the running backs to create yardage on their own at times, especially between the tackles. A guy like Daniel Hill really remedies that, and maybe he's not going to break off a 70-yard run or a 40-yard run even, but he's going to be a guy who, if you need to consistently get 4 to 5 yards, I think he's going to be able to do it for you. And having that to complement what you're doing, always have you in favorable down and distances for your passing game, I think that's huge. So, you're hearing good things about him defensively. With the defensive line, I was concerned about the depth on the interior of the defensive line. I really liked James Smith and what he did at the end of the year. I really liked Tim Keenan and what he provides as a zero technique, one technique nose run stopper that can provide some pocket collapsing ability and, a little bit of juice as far as being a pass rusher who can surprisingly win some one-on-one matchups pretty consistently. But, I think the depth was a problem. You got to have rotation there. You're not going to be playing the same couple of guys. And I think one of the I wouldn't say it's the most surprising, but one of the most pleasant surprises of the spring is just how well Edric Hill and Jeremiah Beeman are both doing and how that really sets up and solidifies your depth. Now, I think you need to have 5 guys for those 2 spots if you can. And so, is that going to be Stephen Bamoa? Is that going to be London Simmons? I mean, it could be a number of different guys, or you might see them go out and get somebody out of the transfer portal. But considering it was possible that you could be worrying about everybody behind the 2 starters, the fact that you should feel pretty comfortable if you've got 5, the fact that you're sitting at 4 pretty comfortably right now, that's got to make you feel good if you're Kane Womack. And so that's good. And then the other big thing that the number one guy that we keep hearing about is Dijon Lee. And you can tell by the videos, a lot of times it's like when they would be showing clips, Dijon Lee would be with the first team. And Cam Calhoun, and a lot of the clips that he's being shown in, he had been running with the second team. And so that's something that I'd kind of taken note of prior to this scrimmage. You kind of had mentioned on our show. And, that was something that, with Damani Jackson being out, it was actually Dijon Lee who got the start at corner opposite of Xavier Brown. And the guy just continues to make plays. And really in the scrimmage, it was a sack. It was an interception. It was a forced fumble. It was a fumble recovery. It was a couple of pass breakups. And this is one scrimmage, and this is a true freshman. So it's like, I don't know what's going to happen when you get Damani Jackson back. It really does feel like Dijon Lee's pushing for a starting job. Now, does that mean should Deshaun Jones be nervous at Husky? Is it a situation where because of Dijon Lee's physicality and stuff, he slides inside, you get Xavier Brown, you get Damani Jackson. Now you've got 3 former 5-stars up there lining up on receivers. That's pretty special. Or it could be a situation where, I think Xavier Brown, despite the fact that he's been getting some criticism for some vertical shots from Isaiah Horton and stuff that's been shown in some of the practice clips, I've been hearing good things about his development, and I thought he was pretty good last year. So, I don't know if it's him going to the bench. I don't know, Damani Jackson, he didn't come back for nothing. I would fully expect him to be in there. But I just think it's good from a depth standpoint that bare minimum, you probably got 3 quality starting corners out there on the perimeter with the potential. I think we all like Cam Calhoun too. So, the fact that you've kind of really shored up that spot, this early in the spring, I think that's huge for Alabama's chances in 2025.
I think something to compliment that about talking about that DB, the DB wide receiver thing right there about how him covering the wide receiver, saying that I think our wide receiver talent has went up this year versus the last 3 years as well. I think this year you could look at a guy that could be a first-round talent, early second round, depending on the season they had this year. Horton being a guy, a lot of people trying to look at that Jameson Williams type of comparison year. I definitely could see it. We've seen, seeing the videos. Don't put too much on it. JB, real quick, he just gave us a bunch of nuggets right there, man, about a bunch of different things going on with the Tide. What's something that you like that you heard Mr. Clint say there? You got a question for him to elaborate on some of that or something like that, brother? Go ahead.
All right, so Clint, I like what you said about the running backs, right? So, and Daniel Hill. I saw Daniel Hill yesterday. He was with Zay Mincy. They came to Montgomery to the Black and Gold Alabama State scrimmage to support Zay Mincy's brother who plays for Alabama State. That's just a little nugget out there. But Daniel Hill looks good. He looks yoked up. You know what I'm saying? He looks like a power back.
That boy like Trent Richardson.
Yeah. So he looks like a power back, right? So if he's out there doing damage like you just mentioned, it's gonna be hard to keep him off the field. Now we know that Jam Miller, Richard Young, that's 1 and 2. The third back is in question. Dre Washington didn't come in to ride the bench. We know that. But AK Deer, true freshman, highly touted. And then you mentioned Kevin Riley and Daniel Hill. Maybe Daniel Hill gets a lot of good run at running back 3, because normally you want to run at least 3, maybe 4 running backs, especially if you're going to run the ball 40 plus times a game. And I like that, because if you're running the ball 40 plus times a game, 9 times out of 10, you're winning the ball game. Because if you got the lead, you do not want to pass the ball up and down the field if you got a heavy lead. You want to just run the ball, pound the ball late in the ball games, and run the clock out, wear a team down. So that'll be good if we have 4 solid, strong running backs this season who can get in there when their numbers call and get you 4 or 5 yards a pop. So I like what you said about the running backs.
Yeah, I do want to add to that I think you have the room for 3 or 4. You know, when when how you win offensively is through a volume quarterback, a running quarterback, there's not a lot of room for multiple running backs. So just the way that the offense is changing on that front, that lends itself to be able to have more backs. And one of the things with Daniel Hill that I want to point out to people is not only can he be potentially your RB3, maybe your RB4, a guy who's getting some carries, maybe being a situational power, short yardage goal line type of presence. But I think in high school, he showed some Dimitri Flowers, style of versatility, the former Oklahoma fullback, running back. They would split him out wide a little bit. I think Daniel Hill, if you go back and watch some of those high school highlights, he had the ability to actually win split out downfield, which I thought was pretty cool, back when I was watching him. And so when you have that versatility, you can line him up at H-back, maybe a little bit of tight end, get him some blocking in, put him at running back, split him out wide. And that type of Swiss Army knife, if he can also be an asset as a running back, if he really can't and he can't handle the carries, that limits him in some ways. But the fact that he can do that, I think that also, you're not just looking at an RB3, you're looking at a Swiss Army chess type of piece offensively for Ryan Grubb that I really think can open up some opportunities for not only Daniel Hill potentially, and I think it'll be situational. It won't be like it'll be a hugely relied on guy necessarily, but just even that having that you have to prepare for as a defense. If you have that on top of the fact that he can provide some opportunities for others through the way that he can create and strain for defenses, I think that makes that will make Ryan Grubb's job a lot easier for sure.
I definitely think so too. And I think, like you just said, SEC schedule too. It's a tough one. Guys get banged up a lot too, so I can definitely see us having 3 to 4. And is that all you had, JB?
Yeah, I like also what you just added, being able to do more than just run the ball. Split out wide, and blocking is key. You have to pick up blitzes. You have to know where the blitz come from and pick it up. That's why if you know how to pick up blitzes, you're going to stay on the field more than other running backs. And that's just all over the landscape of football. So I like that. I got one person I want to ask you about, and that's Zay Mincy in that secondary. What have you seen from him?
What I saw from him back in the bowl game was a guy who was really advanced as far as making the move from being a perimeter corner style of player to being a safety, but being willing to come up and mix things up against the run. I still think there was some vulnerability there as far as in coverage. There was some opportunities that if Michigan would have had a consistent or even threatening passing attack whatsoever, where maybe you would have seen a guy like Zay Mincy get not exposed. That's a word that I don't really like, because he was young and he's still transitioning to a new position. We saw it with Terrion Arnold going from being a high school safety to a college corner. There's growing pains involved, and it was his first career start. So it wasn't surprising and it wasn't concerning. But I will say that that's one area where it's like, okay, the next time I see him, I'm going to be wondering how has he improved, and I fully expect him to. He's got some ranginess to his game, some athleticism. But for a guy like that, who it just goes to show you how physical he was as a perimeter cornerback, and the fact that he was able to make that transition, I think that's big for Alabama's secondary. I do think Keon Sabb's going to be a starter. I do think that Bray Hubbard's going to be a starter. But having a guy like Zay Mincy, where You start looking, we were talking about potentially 4 cornerbacks on the perimeter. You got 1, potentially 2, as far as at Husky with Deshaun Jones. I think he's an underrated player. I think Red Morgan and his experience last year, you could have potentially a 1-2 punch there at Husky. And then you can run up to 3 deep. I think personally 4 deep, because I think Ivan Taylor is going to be a guy who can get his, work his way onto the field as a true freshman too. And you've got a guy like Cam Howard, who I've actually heard quite a bit of good things about this spring so far too. It's like the depth is where I think it's really going to matter. Like we talk about college football, one of the big problems that championship caliber teams are dealing with right now, it's not losing your star power at the top necessarily, it's losing your depth. Nick Saban dealt with it his last couple of years at Alabama. Kirby Smart has talked about it in multiple instances at Georgia the last couple of years. But in the secondary in particular, with guys like Zay Mincy and guys like Dijon Lee and Cam Calhoun and Ivan Taylor and Red Morgan, you're talking about, having the ability to not only – there's versatility too. So you can be moving guys around, presenting different matchups. It could be a situation where if there's a bigger, tight end, maybe like a Keon Sabb, even though I do think he matches up pretty well with tight ends. If you need more length against a certain style of tight end, maybe you can play Zay Mincy situationally and have him kind of as a matchup guy against that style of player. Like just Kane Womack's in a good position where he can be really flexible, really aggressive, because you can trust your corners out there on the perimeter that they're going to be able to win their matchups. Like we've been hearing a lot about the cover zero stuff, being ultra aggressive. That is a theme that I've talked to 2 different sources, and both of them have said both offensively and defensively, aggression is something that he has seen a pretty common theme all throughout the spring. Both coordinators are being super aggressive in how they call things, and I think that's going to create a lot of fun moments for Alabama fans watching, and I think it's really going to kind of set the tone or the pacing of games early. And if you can do that, if you've got the horses to do that, then you can be creative in a lot of different ways. And Zay Mincy certainly provides that ability for a guy like Kane Womack.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Stephen M. Smith, man, how you feeling, brother, with everything you just said?
That's why I called you Clint Goat, because of all that you just said right there. Go ahead.
So Clint, one of the things that we saw in the offseason, not calling it the most unselfish move, nobody really talked about it, was Jamarian Latham going to linebacker. This is a guy going into his 5th, 6th year in the program from Reform, Alabama, Pickens County High School. He goes to linebacker, which now opens Keon Keeley. We know Keeley came in 5-star from Florida. Kane Womack talked about it. I have a vision for him at Baines as a field side defensive end, but I also have a vision for Keeley at Wolf as well. And Keeley is now over 280 pounds. When I watch practice videos, I'm seeing Freddie Roach is excited to see that Keeley is starting to get it all together. Jamie Mosley there with him coaching Keeley hard. But when you look at Keon, how does he now, with this move of Latham going to linebacker, how does this unleash Keeley in this defensive front?
Well, I still think he's got, some guys ahead of him right now. I do think that moving Latham off of the bandit position helps, but then you add, Kelby Collins, who kind of replaces him as kind of a projected top 3 bandit. With that being said, I think you can use some of these guys situationally. Like Kelby Collins is going to be seeing some snaps inside. Like it is possible that I'm sitting here talking about you need 5 guys on the interior for your rotation. Maybe Kelby Collins is that 5th guy because that guy's not seeing a ton of snaps anyways inside, where he can be that player for you. And then you can kind of frees you up to get Keon Keeley more involved as like a true edge. But what I did find fascinating with Keon Keeley, and I don't think we talk about it enough, Alabama, the game was still quote unquote in doubt. Like Alabama had a firm 28-14 lead against Auburn in that 4th quarter a few months ago. But when the game was on the line and Auburn was in obvious passing situations and they wanted to get 3, you're going only 3 down linemen. You're not sending a ton of pressure or anything. You don't want to be overly aggressive. But if Auburn scores there and then is able to get an onside kick, they're within striking distance of being able to tie it up. So the game is still very much in doubt if you're Alabama, and they trusted Keon Keeley to be one of those 3 guys they had out there because of his ability to win one-on-one matchups on the edge. I think from a functional strength standpoint, he had some work to do as far as just, the body looked right, but the strength-wise, like he needed to make some advances in the weight room, and from everything that we've heard, he's been doing that, and that has really helped. You can see the difference, seeing him last fall and last spring working some of those sleds compared to watching him this year when we got to go watch that practice a few weeks ago, it was night and day difference as far as his ability to hold up and do that. Again, the sled drill is it tests a lot of that stuff. Steven Momoa, even though he's got a lot of raw power, you got to have the right technique too. I saw him a few weeks ago struggling with that as well. He'll adjust to that and get that right. But Keon Keeley, you'll be able to use him. I don't know if he's a guy who's going to be a bandit, like an LT Overton, where you're really going to put him in a 3-tech over the guard or move him even further inside. He's, probably the furthest you want him inside is like a 4, or maybe a 4 on the inside shoulder of the tackle. But there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how you use him. You've got Jordan Renaud, who I'm extremely high on. You've got Kelby Collins, who brings some flexibility, some versatility, how you can use him. You've got LT Overton, who's obviously, I think, going to be one of the best players on the defensive side of the football, if not the best player. And so, I don't know if there's a clear path to significant playing time, but one thing that we've seen with this coaching staff is if you're doing the right things in practice, they will figure out a way to get you on the field. They will reward that. And a guy like Keon Keeley, they know he's worked extremely hard. The want to has never been in question. It's always been, his ability to execute. The execution's starting to come along too. And so the more he earns that trust, maybe the more snaps he'll get. And, maybe he could eventually become that guy that everybody expected him to when he was a top 10 recruit coming out of high school. But I'm a big fan of Keeley, and you want guys like that to succeed. You want Ty Simpson to succeed, because the more guys like that stick around, end up working their way onto the field, and they become a story where they go on to the NFL, be a first-round draft pick, all that stuff, that will encourage people to do that sort of thing more in the future. If you see a guy like Keon Keeley stick around for 3 or 4 years, never work his way onto the field, and then have to transfer, the next guy who's in year 2 or year 3 trying to decide, am I going to stick around and do this for another year? They might say, no, it didn't work out for Keon. It didn't work out for Ty, so I want to bounce. So Keon Keeley, if you're an Alabama fan, you want him to be successful, and I do think he's working in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, I like the way you just turned that too. You definitely want him to be successful. You don't want it to be bad. For multiple reasons. You just stated some very great ones right there, actually. Herb, wrap us up right here, man. Everything that was said, that's a lot to digest. Is there something that you're looking for, or did Stephen M. Smith rob you?
Stephen M. I thought we was cool like that, Stephen. So, my brother and I do a podcast, and my brother loves Keon Keeley. But Raj loves Keon Keeley. He asks about him on every show. So I was like, okay, that's they covering a lot so far. I don't want to look stupid at the end of the panel. All right, Keon Keeley, that's going to be my. And I saw you wipe your glasses, and that's when I knew it was over. I said, okay, that's the signal. That's the signal. He's about to.
I would say, white them road.
That's the I'm about to drop a bomb on you sort of thing. So I'm gonna have 2 quick nuggets. One of them was kind of in the middle of the JB's talking about the running backs, and I'm stealing this from another person on the network. I won't mention them, but they said they don't expect Draylon Washington to ever see the field this year. And from what you've seen, and JB mentioned he didn't transfer in to not play, but with Hill stepping up and what do you think about that statement?
I was higher on the Dre Washington edition or the signing when it happened, probably a lot more than others, because when you went and watched him, I think his ability to be successful between the tackles, like Jam Miller, when you look at the off tackle stuff for both Jam Miller and Justice Haynes last year, it is an absurd percentage of their yardage came outside the tackles. And, as far as what Draylon Washington, as far as the workload, the amount of work that he got between the tackles in his, what I would call a limited role at Louisiana, I thought that was just something that's like, okay, not only does he have a little bit more wiggle than we probably give him credit for, not only does he have a little bit more home run hitting ability than probably we give him credit for, but also his ability to win between the tackles. I thought that could give, and his ability, he's got all the tools in pass protection. Like his pass protection grade on PFF, I didn't think it was actually quite poor. But when I was going back and watching, and it's limited reps, but it's like, okay, everything's there that you need to work with and be successful. And I thought I saw some good reps out of him. Probably needs to be a little bit more consistent on that front. But it's like, okay, I see a guy, he's not going to be a 3-down player for Alabama. They don't need him to be. But I do think that when he's in the game, it was like, I don't see any limitations as far as what you can call from Ryan Groff's perspective. Like there's nothing like if a guy's not good in pass protection, if he's out there, well, he's either going to be running a route or he's going to be running the football, one of the two, because they're not really going to ask him to pass protect because he can't do it. or if he can't catch the football in the backfield, it like limits what you can call, and defenses know that. So I thought, okay, this is a guy who can kind of do a little bit of everything and do it quite well. But, I mean, sometimes you get these guys in there. Tyler Harrell's another one, and granted, injuries did play a part in that, but he filled a very specific role for Alabama as far as they need a vertical player in this offense to take the top off of defenses. He comes in, but just could never work into the rotation because other guys were kind of moving ahead of him or staying ahead of him in the pecking order, and it just never came to fruition.
So, Clint, he reminded me of the Blake Barnett situation. I was so hyped for Blake Barnett, and I was so hyped for Tyler. God, I was so hyped, dude. And then it just, like you just said, it just never happened. I was like, what?
Sometimes that happens.
So Clint, I mean, you would put, because I remember you would put Tyler Harrell in the same category as Malik Benson because it was supposed to happen for Malik Benson.
Yeah,
that's right. And here, what I like, Jamarcus Shepard is the remedy for those problems. I'll put it that way. I think that the Alabama has recruited the wide receiver position extremely well. Like Kobe Prentice, top 100 recruit. Kendrick Law, top 100 recruit. Ja'Cory Brooks, 5-star player. Like you could start going down the list. Malik Benson, 5-star player. You go down the list and they have recruited well. It's been their inability. It's either been misevaluations, but what are the chances that not only Nick Saban and his staffs were misevaluating players, but everybody in the recruiting industry was misevaluating them as well? Like, I mean, or is it that the guy who was tasked with developing those players couldn't pull what he needed to pull out of those guys? I think Jamarcus Shepard's, having him in that room, we know he's a proven developer of talent. He can recruit the talent, but he can also develop it. And you're seeing that when, Isaiah Horton gets on campus, he's as advertised. Latsier Brooks gets on campus as a true freshman. Everybody, all these recruiting pundits and stuff had him as a 3-star, as a low-rated 4-star. On3 was really the only one that had him as a top 100 recruit. Mm-hmm. I've said, and plenty of Bama fans, I'm not saying anything that a bunch of Bama fans hadn't already been saying, but we all knew Latsier Brooks was way more in line with the On3 ranking than he was with any of the other recruiting rankings. And yet, but you also got to get that out of those guys. And so, he gets on campus and you're hearing really good things about him. Jamarcus Shepard, his ability to pull the best out of these receivers matched with the talent that he's going to have is what's going to send Alabama's wide receiver room, which is going to send their offense, to a completely different level than we've seen in the last several years, because you've got, I always say, you've got the horses to do it. You've got the play caller and Ryan Grubb. I think you've got the quarterback to execute. I think you got the offensive line that can keep it protected long enough. You've got the complementary run game, but the receivers and their ability to be versatile and win those one-on-one matchups, scheme up certain things for certain guys. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch on Saturdays this fall.
So that's a great way to put that. And it's the 50-50 rule, Clint. It's 50% is getting them here, and the other 50% is coaching them the rest of the way. Because just because you got them there don't mean like, okay, that's great you got them there. Now you got to do the other part and coach them. Herb, go ahead and finish off your last bit, right, brother?
Okay. My last one is because we've been talking a lot about the offense and running backs and, wide receiver room, where they fit in. What have you seen from the tight ends so far and how they fit in and how they're feeling like they're going to be better utilized this year than maybe in the past?
Well, the problem is who's available, right? I mean, it started off with Danny Lewis not being available in the spring, and you had Caleb Edwards, who I think is going to be a heck of a player for Alabama, him not being on campus yet. And then you have guys like Josh Cuevas and Marshall Pritchett, who was already kind of limited throughout the spring anyways, but following the scrimmage, it was revealed that both of those guys are going to be out for the rest of spring. So Jay Lindsey is the only healthy tight end who is out there right now. That is a concern to me for sure. There's no way that you can't look at that and say, okay, because you're you don't have the ability to see it. I really wanted to see how Danny Lewis was progressing. I want to point out they really needed a complimentary inline option at tight end when Danny Lewis entered the transfer portal, and you lost CJ Dupree and a guy who can play some of that in Robbie Utes. And they kind of courted some guys, and I would go and dive into that guy's film. But the priority was trying to get Danny Lewis out of the portal. So they clearly see something in him that he can fill that void. And as soon as they got him, they pretty much said, we're done with tight end. Like, we're good. We got what we needed. We've got the move tight end. in Josh Cuevas. We like what he's going to be able to do as far as the pass catching, but we got the complementary inline blocker who can also be a pass catching threat. There's no limitations as far as what you can ask him to do or what you require him to do. Like Will Sanders has been seeing some snaps at tight ends, a blocking tight end because of the shortage of numbers. If he's in the game, it's the same thing as Kendall Randolph. They're not running routes. They're simply out there to be a blocker. A guy like Danny Lewis, they don't want Danny Lewis to be that. They want him to be a diverse tight end that they can kind of move around and do different things with, and he can be at least somewhat effective in those areas. And so I love what they have when you look at the room on paper as far as the Y blocker, the H move guy, not only in the immediate with Danny Lewis and Josh Cuevas, but also how they recruited it, because Caleb Edwards, he can play the H or the Y, but I more so probably view him as the Y long-term. But then you've got Marshall Pritchett, who I think is a former wide receiver, still growing into being a tight end, but he can be that H move option. Showed a lot of willingness to improve his blocking over the course of his senior year. So it's like, I like the current and I like the future as far as the way that's kind of played or how that could play out. But it's a lot of banking on stuff you're not seeing. And that's the concern. It's kind of like we feel really good about the inside linebacker room because, that you've got Justin Jefferson coming back. You got Deontay Lawson coming back. You added the number one transfer portal linebacker in Nakai Hill-Green. But none of those three guys are available. Or excuse me, two of those guys are not available. And Nakai Hill-Green was kind of making the transition, and he was not running with the first team defense at the beginning of spring practice. So it's like you don't fully know what you're going to have with those three guys until you think but I mean, it might not work out how we think. So I like the tight end room a lot. I like the talent in that room, but I wouldn't be shocked if they ended up, if the right guy came available, they kind of signed somebody that they feel like they could trust, because if not, you might end up seeing something with Caleb Edwards as far as, despite the fact that he's not an early enrollee, I do think he's a guy who could end up working his way onto the field in year one, but you don't want to necessarily bank on that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Go ahead, say, man.
Clint, I had a thought on we know what we can see, or the potential what we can see from Quay Russaw. We saw him last year, make some plays, step up with some big moments. Yes, he battled an injury, healthy now. But Yancey Pierre, here's a guy that came in the same class of play. Yeah. Both guys 5 stars, both guys from the state. And we saw in the Saban era, there was always an older outside linebacker than a younger guy, and they both kind of grew together. Whether it was Ryan Anderson.
Stephen M. Yeah. He's from the hometown of Courtney Upshaw, too.
Yes, absolutely. We looked at it and we saw guys like, Ryan Anderson, Tim Williams. We saw Anthony Jennings, Terrell Lewis. And that's kind of what we saw. When you look at Yancey Pierre, how far along is he? Like, where is he right now in trying to be kind of in that next wave of outside linebackers that can put that pressure on the quarterback and growing with Quay Russaw?
Well, I think Chris Braswell showed us you don't give up on guys too early, right? Because, he was a player that 5-star. Now you have Will Anderson, and at least, that first year you had Drew Sanders, who was contributing as well in the following year. I guess it was really second year for Drew Sanders. But, I think that Yancey Pierre could end up being on a similar trajectory as a Chris Braswell, because when you did see him kind of playing in limited snaps, from an efficiency standpoint, I actually thought he was pretty decently efficient, but you just didn't see. I kind of like him as like a pure pass rusher. I think he's probably one of the best pure pass rushers on this roster. But you got to put him in those situations to be able to pin his ears back and do that. You didn't see that a whole lot. What I will say is like the Wolf position and the way it operates in Canes Wommack's defense, and the fact that you ask it to play a lot of off-ball snaps is like that shallow off-ball linebacker. As far as gap responsibility and knowing where you fit as far as the run fits and all that, I think that's something that Yancey Pierre is still growing with. It's something that's kind of new and foreign to him relative to some of the other guys like Justin Hill. He played a ton of off-ball snaps for his high school team, and he did a lot as far as playing out there on the edge. And so he's going to be a guy who's comfortable doing both already, even though he's a couple of years younger than Yancey Pierre. As far as dropping into coverage, whether it be in the flats or whether it be, situationally, sometimes when you're playing that off-ball role, once again, not something that Yancey Pierre is super comfortable with. But, as he gets more comfortable where he can at least handle some of that, I do think you're going to see some Yancey Pierre. But I think more so in 2025, you just use him as a situational piece. Like, he might not be a guy who's going to be out there on a lot of early downs, and you might see him doing some stuff as far as rotating in on a drive-to-drive basis, depending on what they have with Jamarian Latham. I think Jamarian Latham and Quay Russo are going to be the main two on that front. But if it's, last year you saw Jahad Campbell in some of those obvious passing situations, because he was one of Alabama's best pure pass rushers, they would kind of slide him out to the wolf position or an edge position in obvious passing situations, and they bring a guy like Justin Jefferson on the field. Well, instead of doing that, like, you're not going to do that with Deontay Lawson. You're not going to do that with Justin Jefferson. You're not going to do that with Nikhai Hill-Green. So who's going to be that guy, that obvious pass rusher, that pass rushing specialist in those obvious pass rushing situations? And I think a guy like Yanze Pierre can fill that specific role, but you just have to be careful with how you do that, because if if it's 3rd and 7 and you're letting him pin his ears back and, they pop you with a run instead, kind of catch you off guard. Now it's 4th and 2 and they're playing hurry up and going for it. Now he's got to be an edge setting outside linebacker. He's still growing in that area. So it's like, the limitations can hurt you at times, but I think he's making strides, and I think the coaching staff likes what he can bring. Alabama needs more juice as far as getting after the quarterback. LT Overton was the only guy. He had 39 pressures last year, did not do a great job as far as finishing. I'm expecting that to improve, but the next highest guy was I think maybe 20 pressures, and that was Jahad Campbell. Now, Quandarius Robinson probably would have been a little bit higher had he been able to stay healthy. But it's like they need some complementary options to LT Overton, and I think Yanze Pierre can be one of those guys.
That's a great way to look at that. When you break down everything that we just talked about and looked at it, you can sum it all up to famous words of Willie. We don't give a piss about nothing but the tie, baby. Alabama's looking good. I love to hear all that right there. Bama's looking good, though. I'm excited to see how it's going to end up transpiring. I'm excited to see how it's going to look this Saturday. Even though it's just a practice, we're not going to get the game like we used to. It's going to be a little different. But being able to be there, being able to see it, and all the other fans and getting that type of environment is something that's going to be great, guys. We're going to move to our last topic real quick. We're going to rapid fire this. I want everybody to give one player that they feel is under the radar and give me a quick reason why. Clint, hit us off tonight. JB, Herb, Stephen M. Smith, wrap us up. Hit it.
I'll go ahead and start with Nikhai Hill-Green. I think there's multiple guys, but I feel like he's hopefully someone that not anybody else uses. But I think what he does well is something that Alabama desperately needed. And that's a guy who is a force against the run, physical, understands run fits, understand his role within those run fits. A lot of people will put Alabama not being able to stop the run consistently last year on the first level, the interior defensive line or the defensive line in general. To me, as much as I love Jahad Campbell and as much as I love Deontay Lawson, a lot of your run fit problems came from that second level. And so you really needed a guy who could maybe, correct some of those issues. And while I wouldn't be shocked at all, because of his, I don't think Nikhai Hill-Green's overly rangy. I don't think he's like phenomenal in coverage. I don't think he's bad with either of those two things, but I think you could probably do better in some of those obvious passing situations. So I wouldn't be shocked if you platoon him and Justin Jefferson, where Nikhai Hill-Green is kind of your main early down guy, and then you bring in Justin Jefferson and sub out Nikhai Hill-Green in those obvious passing situations. But just I think it's the same thing Alabama's trying to achieve on offense, where you're trying to get better early down success to position yourself with down and distances as far as keeping the playbook open. You want to limit that as far as opposing offenses if you're the defense. And just Alabama couldn't do what they needed to do on early downs enough to earn the right to get after the quarterback, which is what limited some of the pass rush and stuff like that. So you got to be able to stop the run. I think Nikhai Hill-Green's going to do a great job as far as that's concerned.
Leading tackler at Colorado, he ain't scared of hitting. I'll tell you that right now. He plays that position well. JB, who you got, brother?
That was a good one right there, man. Nikhai Hill-Green coming in, big pickup. You just mentioned coming in from Colorado, the leading tackler for them last year. I'm gonna go another linebacker that's been under the radar, Noah Carter. Right, Noah Carter came in. He was committed to Washington. he was one of the few players that came with Coach DeBoer last year, so he has a whole year sitting back watching, didn't get a lot of playing time last season. We know it's a lot of depth. We have a lot of depth at whatever Wolf, Bandit, whatever position you want to call it. But I think he can work his way into getting some playing time this season because we all know, he's 6'4", he has the body, and he has the understanding of this system. So Noah Carter is a name to look out for, and he's flying under the radar right now, but come fall, he may get some reps on the field.
I like that. Noah Carter's a one that's actually a lot of people have been thinking about. We saw the question there earlier. We're going to get to that in the questions. Herb, who's a guy you like that's under the radar? Hopefully nobody took it for you.
No. Well, I went outside the box on mine just to make sure Stephen M. Smith didn't snake me this time. So my guy is hurt and not even on the field right now. So I'm going to go with Keon Sabb.
Yeah.
Because of how well he was playing when he got hurt, even playing through an injury to finish the game, how well Bray Hubbard came in when he played, and then we keep talking about the newcomers. I'm excited to see him get back on the field when he's 100% healthy next year. That's the guy I'm looking for.
Oh yeah, Sabb, man, that man was a pleasant ad from Michigan, and you've seen how quick, like last year, them two picks in the first game. And you're like, oh, man, this dude right here is ball hunting. And then, you just see his coverage and man-to-man. You see his thought process out there on the field. I love having him. I'm excited he's back. I'm excited Damani Jackson's going to come back eventually as well.
Yes.
And it's a good problem, like Clint said earlier. It's a good problem for Walnut, man, to have. He's got some dogs that he can release and pull them back and send some more here and put some there. So it's going to be interesting to see. Stephen M. Smith. Who's the guy you like that's flying under the radar for you?
I'm gonna go way kind of off the grid here. Okay. I'm gonna say a guy flying under the radar for me. Give me kicker Connor Talty. That for me has had a very good camp. Been hearing, making every field goal, increased his leg strength, his leg drive, his accuracy. He's making 50-50 plus yarders. And after we saw the growth of Will Reichert for 5 years, he became the guy. And I remember when Bama recruited Will from Hoover in 2019, Reichert said, I'm going to end the kicking issues. I'm going to stop it myself. And not only did Will say it, he did it. And it got to a point where we were not concerned about the kicker no more. Once 16 took that field, I'm going to go pee because he's going to make this field goal.
And
you knew Reichert was money in the bag when he took the field to kick. And so last season, of course, we had Graham Nicholson from University of Miami of Ohio, and Graham did pretty good, but having Connor Talty, somebody of whom Reichert spent time with, like Reichert was around him quite a bit, and Talty's kind of got this confidence about himself. I'm really excited to see him take that field and show the entire nation when my time is up here to make this field goal, I'm booming it through here.
Yeah. I used to call Will Super Kick Will, so we got to come up with tally one too. Go ahead, JB.
I hope you're right because you remember last year, there wasn't even pressure. So that was the reason we got Graham Nicholson and why we were so happy we got Graham Nicholson because we wasn't sold on Talty. So I'm gonna take your word for it, Stephen. I'm gonna take your word for it. He better make every field goal. He better make every field goal.
No pressure. No pressure yet, right?
Now, yes, Herb. Last year around this time, Talty wasn't quite ready. He wasn't ready.
Hey, another year.
Way better mindset this time. Now I'm gonna ask Clint. Clint, you've been down there. How has Talty looked in your opinion?
Haven't really got my eyes on Talty. But from everybody I've talked to, he's a guy who, when you talk about the problems with young kickers, being able to see it for multiple years on the college level, like he hadn't been a part of those big time moments, like he hadn't been on the field for them, but he's seen the pressure that others are dealing with. He's been in the atmosphere, the crowd, and he understands that aspect of it. So I don't think he'll be shocked or I don't think that side of it's going to be causing any sort of problems. And he's got a lot of physical talent. Not saying he's going to be like the most consistent kicker Alabama's ever had. He might be. I don't know. I'm just saying I still think with kickers like that, that's one of the tougher positions to evaluate, in my opinion.
Yes.
But I think him getting to sit for a couple of years. Well, he went from being a guy who didn't contribute as a freshman to handled the kickoffs last year, so he was a part of that side of it. But now he kind of gets to take over and be the field goal kicker. I do think he's been positioned the best that he possibly can to put him in a position for success.
I agree. I think 1 year, I think that'll do him some good. DeBoer should have probably told him to go spend some time with the soccer team a little bit, and that probably could have helped some of that up too. No, I'm joking. But now I've also been a firm believer of if you have a kicker problem on your team, especially you're somewhere like Alabama, walk on the soccer field. Hey, who's got the strongest leg? Have you ever kicked a football? All right, cool. You're on scholarship? Cool. Well, hey, let's come try to kick a football real quick. And see if they kick football. Hey, you get a 2-for-1, baby.
or JT, you can do what God rest his soul Mike Leach did at Texas Tech all them years. Go grab a fan from the stands that did kick for tuition and put them on scholarship.
Hey, man, look, it's RIP to Coach Mike, a great innovator of our game too. RIP to a legend. Hey, but that's a dream come true as a fan, bro. Like, that would be a dream come true moment. Now you on the team, like, you was drinking beers and tailgate before last game. Now you on the team this year. That would be a whole different plot twist there. Great show tonight. Great topics, guys. We're gonna answer some questions real quick. We actually have quite a few, so we'll rapid fire these. Clint, how we do these, man, is you'll see them pop up. I'll go, you'll go, JB, her, Stephen M. Smith, and we'll go in that order. If it's something that one of us can't answer, if it's something that's probably going to be eluded, I saw a No Carter question there and a couple other, we'll probably defer to you, Stephen M. Smith, on what you guys may know, and then we'll kind of go from there, brother. Run them, Justin. Let's see. First one we got tonight, I believe it's from Joe. No, it wasn't from Joe. Oh, it's the new member right here. And thank you so much for subscribing to our new membership right here. And one thing about it is here at the Bama Standard, guys, is that I say this every show. If you don't like our face, we got like 5 other shows on this channel with different faces. So go check out another show. We got a lot of shows on this channel. Make sure you like and subscribe for us. Right? JT makes a push for men's soccer team. Yeah, man. I was more or less just, 2 birds, 1 stone, man. That's one of my things. Thinker. Clint, hit this one for Mr. Joe right here. Oh yeah.
Honestly, yeah, I don't even know what to expect, to be honest with you. I think it'll be pretty similar to last year. I think they'll probably tweak some things, but it wasn't a game last year. It's not going to be a game this year. You might have some limitations on some guys. I wouldn't be surprised if they held guys out that maybe, even a guy like Nick Saban or something typically wouldn't have held out of an A-Day. So I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but I do know that anytime you can get guys on the field and getting them live scrimmage-like reps is beneficial. And I'm just appreciative that we're getting that opportunity because right now, I mean, there's a lot of schools around college football who aren't having spring games. So I would tend to rather see this than to see, some 7-on-7 stuff or whatever it is they've been doing as far as like whatever Ole Miss is doing with Lane Kiffin. I don't know what that's all about. Some feats of strength or something. I don't know what. I mean, yeah, I'm just appreciative that we're getting this opportunity to kind of watch them on the field doing some stuff in front of fans.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too, Clint. I like that.
It's going to be a glorified practice. It's going to be like fan day that they have in August. It's typically going to be fan day because after the practice, they're going to have the autograph signing on the field for about 45 minutes, the running of the Gumps. And you have to be a member of Yay, Alabama to get on the field and get those autographs signed. But you're not going to see Ryan Williams and all those guys like that. And Coach Kalen DeBoer actually said that Ryan Williams, we don't need to see Ryan Williams in practice no more. So don't be expecting to see the guys out there doing the most. It's just going to be a glorified practice is what you're going to see.
Yeah. You don't want to bang nobody up right here. JB, get my man Joe right here with Julio.
Okay, do we have a Julio Jones player on this team this year or close to him?
Ooh.
Man, I don't think so, bro. I don't know, but I know we have.
Derek Meadows is probably the biggest?
Yeah,
Meadows probably
but
be the
Julio
biggest.
Jones, though, that's saying a
Oh,
lot.
I know. Yeah,
You know,
yeah, that is. Yeah.
yeah.
I was more
But,
thinking of
I mean,
size-wise.
I know we have a big three.
Yeah,
We have a
that
big
we
three:
do.
Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, and Isaiah Horton. I'll tell you that.
I agree there.
I'll
I
tell
think
you
that's a
that.
solid 3. And then you're going to have a mix of Brooks probably sliding in there, some Jalen Hales, some Josh Cuevases. You'll see some different guys. And I think that Josh Cuevas one is going to be a name that is going to slide more than what people are expecting at tight end. But we'll talk about that as we kind of get going. I don't want to spend too much on that. But, yeah. JB, I'm with you, man. I don't know. That's a big ass. If I had to say body-wise, I'd probably say Derek Meadows. But I'm not saying he's like him, but I mean, yeah, that's a tough ass right there. I don't know, man.
Were they asking from a talent standpoint or like a leadership program, kind of put them on the right path under Nick Saban? Is there like a player that could put Alabama on the right path under Kalen? They might have asked it either way. Yeah,
I would lean to that last one you said more than it's hard to say. Is a guy 6'3" and can run as fast as Tyreek Hill? I mean that there's not a lot of that. So no. But that last part, yeah, big time recruit. But also like a guy with that leadership mindset that could be. I like Derek Meadows a lot. He might not see the field a lot this year. It's deep room, but I think in the upcoming year, especially if he stays, Derek Meadows is going to be a guy to look at. That's going to be a very sizey guy too. That'll be good. Hit the next one for us, Justin and Herb. You up next, brother?
All right. How many running backs do you think will have 1,000, and how many wide receivers? There's actually some Bama Standard videos about this. So if you want to see a lot of different people's opinions on it, you can go to the page and check it out. And then also Raj and I did this question too with a short on it. So mine was kind of more the pessimistic answer. I said on the running backs, I feel like, Jam is supposed to be your lead guy, whatever, but I feel like they're going to share enough carries to where this answer is 0 on the running backs. But I'm more of an air it out. And that's not to say we're going to be deficient in the running game. I think we're going to be very balanced in the running game. But I just think a lot of these guys are moving up. And then you throw in a guy like Daniel Hill, who I wasn't even thinking about getting more carries. I don't think we're going to get 1,000 on the running backs. But I'm going to go 2 on the wide receivers. And wide receivers is just my favorite position, too. So I'll be optimistic there. Obviously, if I had to pick, I'm going with the Germinator and with Ryan Williams. But those are where I would start, 0 and 2. But again, check out the videos. You can get a lot of other people's opinions on that as well. So make sure you check those out.
That. That's a great way to look at that, too, especially with the running backs being you're going to have probably 3 of them, 2 for sure, 3 high possibility there. Stephen M. Smith, hit this next question for us, brother.
Kenneth, why do y'all think Saban didn't pull from the guys he coached as much to be – why do y'all think Saban didn't pull from the guys he coached as much to be on his staff, but Cochran's able to load up on so many greats? Good to see you on the stand at Clint. So for Coach Saban, that's an interesting question. Just due to some people like to work under greatness, but at the cost of it, right? Saban is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Some people want to work under Saban. They love the rigidness, they love the gruff, they love the grind, they love it. But then you have some guys that may not want to work under that. For a prime example, you got guys that love working under Dabo Swinney. Why? Dabo Swinney lets you have some time off. Dabo Swinney, you're not going constantly. He lets you have some time off. And people like that. You look at Coach Cochran, he has this young, fresh energy. And a lot of those Bama players that are now with Cochran, they grew close to Cochran. You got to understand,
strength and conditioning coach.
Scott Cochran had a key to the weight room, the key to that facility. Mm-hmm. So when guys were going through off-field stuff, baby mama problems, girlfriend left me, lost my job, car broke down, no matter what life problems they had, they probably couldn't go to Coach Saban, so they went to Cochran.
And go to any D1 college and ask what coach they're the closest to. I guarantee you they're going to say 1, the position coach, 2, the strength and conditioning coach. It's just always like that.
So Cochran was close with Bo Scarborough. He was close with O.J. Howard. He was close with Reggie Ragland. He was close with Blake Sims. All of those guys that Cochran got on his staff at West Alabama, he spent invaluable time with all of them because they all felt like they could trust him. So it's not like Saban was not good with coaches. He was. It's just Cochran just had that zeal that players wanted to get behind.
I like that.
And real quick, JT, we were asked this question last week about DeBoer with the same exact thing, same exact question. And what we also said last week was a lot of these guys are still learning on the job as well, with getting used to being a position coach and whatnot. Cochran is in a position where he could do the learn on the job spot. Like DeBoer is not. He's got to win next year. Saban, once you got to the height, he couldn't bring somebody up during that time. Be like, I need you ready when you walk in the door versus I got time to bring you up as a position coach. So I think that's another reason why at this level you just can't do that.
Yeah, and one of the things I want to add to that, you're 100% correct. Saban was I will tell you, there's a former walk-on that is currently climbing the coaching ranks by the name of Rob Ezel, was the tight ends coach at South Alabama, became the offensive coordinator at South. Now he's gone to Wake Forest. I think he's going to do really good things.
Saban impression guy.
Nick Saban loved him. And there were some, I know that Rob probably would have loved to have come back to Alabama, but if he just would have continued on his current trajectory and the way he's climbing and getting experience, I think eventually Saban would have brought him back. But he's not really just going to hire a guy like all of these guys that Cochran's hiring. None of them really have a lot of coaching experience. I think they're trying to get the culture right there first. Nick Saban already had the culture figured out. As far as DeBoer's concerned, he's not going to. I mean, imagine potentially, like, I'm not saying any of these guys would do this, but from DeBoer's perspective, what if he brings in some of these guys and he doesn't really know them, like Nick Saban knows them, he's never been around them, and they start saying, well, that's not the way Nick Saban did it. That's not the way Nick Saban did it.
Yeah,
I mean, if you've got guys who are trying to, and granted, I'm not saying DeBoer wouldn't welcome, but he's going to do it his way, right? So you don't want a bunch of people that are potentially going to challenge you on that front, and I don't think any of those guys would. But I'm saying you run the risk of that happening, which could actually cause problems. So if from DeBoer's perspective, I'm not overly shocked by that either.
So, Clint, you just explained why when a head coach gets fired that the position coaches change a lot of times because you come in and Coach Green didn't do that. So, why are you doing that? It's like, that's why some guys get retained. I know that. Some guys do because they can fit the mold. And which is great. Pull the next question for us, Justin. Yeah, that's a great point though, right there, Clint, to look at. Joshua right here says, also, do y'all think there will be a specific goal line back? I love this question. I'm so glad I got this. I saw this one when it came in. Clint said it to start off. Daniel Hill would be the guy for me. The dude is like a center block. He is a Trent Richardson built. Not saying he played. Well, he kind of does. But Trent Richardson like-ish. I'm not going to compare him to him. I know players don't like that when you try to say they're their own player. But the dude is a center block. I think he would be great goal line work down there inside those inside the line right there. So that'll be interesting to see. The rest of our guys, like Jam, not bad. You can give him the goal line. Richard Young isn't small either by any means. Definitely going to get some carries in there, probably two. But if you're telling me, and Daniel Hill, to allude to that, go back and watch last year. He had a touchdown inside the 5. Cannot remember what team it was now, but it was early in the season. Now I had a brain fart. Cannot remember who, but it was early on in the season. He had a goal line touchdown. So Daniel Hill will be a guy that I would say to look back right there at the goal line back if we had one, especially not having the Milrow special this year with being able to kind of, boom, and let him go left or right or in the middle. That'll be big. Justin, pull the next one for us, brother. Clint, right here. Get our man Ephraim.
So if Lawson and Jefferson are not able to play game one, who plays middle linebacker? I do think Jefferson's going to be available. I think his was like a minor problem that really was just going to take a little bit of time. Like you didn't want him doing the whole contact thing. You really don't have to. I mean, he's an experienced guy by this point. You kind of know what you're going to get with him. So there's not a whole lot of development that needs to happen throughout this spring. But, to answer the question, if it were to happen, I mean, I think Nakai Hill-Green would make the most sense to most people. I think at that point you probably would have to have him as a 3-down guy. Does Alabama want him as a 3-down player? Like he did that some at Colorado, but they also they platooned him a little bit even there. I think he played like 82 or 83% of the snaps in the games that he participated in. Pretty good percentage, but I mean, there are instances where he's left off the field. Caden Jones, though, I do want to at least talk about him. Like he's a guy who's pretty consistently worked with the first team defense this spring with all these other guys out. And now Nakai Hill-Green was transitioning. He's new. So that made sense, but he's kind of taken over QB Reese's spot with the first team. Caden Jones is the guy I know the coaching staff really, really likes. He's not Jahad Campbell, but kind of in the sense of, there are certain instances where maybe you would want to slide him out to an edge and let him get after the quarterback. I think he presents some of those opportunities for you. He's not going to be the same caliber of pass rusher when in those situations as Jahad. But the coaching staff really likes, what he's got as far as between the years. He picked up the defense pretty quickly last year as a true freshman. And any time that I saw him on the field, I thought he was pretty effective. I was super high on Justin Okoronkwo, super high. I think he's going to be a heck of a player for South Carolina. But I know that the coaching staff did not really view Caden Jones as linebacker 4 as a significant downgrade, if any, as far as being a downgrade compared to Justin Okoronkwo. Like they really like him too. So, that's an interesting question. I know that the field general responsibilities probably would be Nakai Hill-Green with his experience, but I wouldn't put it past Caden Jones either.
Great points right there, brother. Great points. That'll be something to look at too. I think middle linebacker will be a big key this year too. JB, hit this next one for us, brother.
All right, Joe Edwards, shouts out to you. If Austin Mack transfer, who will be our third quarterback? We will need at least 4 quarterbacks on the roster just in case, correct? Yeah, we will need another quarterback. I don't think Austin Mack will transfer, but I think we do need another quarterback. And we talked about this months ago. If Ty Simpson did not win the starting job, we would expect him to transfer if there were no indications that he would not be the starter, because he's been there sitting. Why would you want to keep sitting for year after year? But
Agreed.
In all indications, Ty Simpson is doing a great job. He will possibly be the starter. You got Keelan Russell, who probably will be quarterback number 2, if I had to guess. So you kind of want to keep Austin Mack. But if he happens to transfer, we need to bring 2 more quarterbacks in.
Oh, yeah. Portal. That portal going to open up too, baby. Herb, hit this next one for us too, baby.
I think this one and the next one are players. I think Noah Carter and the next one's about Jalen Hale. So I'm gonna pass that on to one of the guys that's maybe putting better eyes on him.
Clint, do you have any updates on Noah Carter, Jalen Hale?
Yeah, Jalen Hale's looked good. He's still wearing the knee brace. It was a bad injury. And just him getting back on the field, not only getting back on the field, but seeing some reps with the first team and doing some good things. First and foremost, that's a blessing. We've seen guys have some pretty catastrophic injuries, and they're just never the same player. And we don't have it's not a sure thing that Jalen Hale will be, but I will say that the early returns seem to be very encouraging. And that's a testament to him and his work ethic as far as working his way back on the field. And I want to give him credit for that. Do think he's going to be a part of Alabama's rotation. Love his ability to win downfield as far as the 50-50 vertical stuff. He's not 6'4", 6'5", but he plays a lot bigger than a 6'1" body would indicate. Got some good leaping ability. We saw it against Ole Miss, to start the second half with Jalen Milroe his freshman year, where that vertical shot, he was able to go up and win that contested catch. So that's good. And then Noah Carter, it's a pretty crowded position. We're talking about, is Justin Hill going to be a part of the rotation there? I do think he's got some year one ability as far as getting on the field. You've got Quay Russaw, you've got Yanze Pierre, now you got Jamarian Latham. So I don't think there's like a clear path to any sort of defined role. But, he's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. He can hold up at the point of attack a little bit better, which I think was his big thing. From a pass rushing side of it, I think he was pretty good. There were some nuances he needed to work on, but I think he's a very naturally gifted pass rusher. And I think that's probably going to be where he helps Alabama the most, whether it be in 2025 or beyond. But as far as this season, it's tough to know if he's going to end up getting any sort of significant playing time. But I will say the coaching staff loved Noah Carter. This coaching staff, or at least Kalen DeBoer. Kane Womack obviously I'm sure loves him too, but Kalen DeBoer was a huge fan of Noah Carter and what he could potentially be. and I thought that was a big get for Alabama. So I don't want anybody to forget about him. But anytime you start talking about guys and are they going to be able to get on the field, my first question is at whose expense? Who's coming off the field to get them on the field? We can talk about all the receivers and hey, Lassiter Brooks has got to play. Hey, Cole Adams has got to be a guy. He was pretty reliable last year.
Who comes off?
Yeah, Jalen Mbakwe. It's like, okay, I mean,
that's the hard question.
Okay, so is it Ryan Williams? Is it Jeremy Bernard? Is it Isaiah Horton? Like,
where you cutting time?
Yeah, exactly. So that's something I do think Noah Carter is a talented player, and I do think he can help Alabama, but he's got to become more of a complete player because I think if you're talking about situational usage, that would probably come down to Yanze Pierre. So I think he's probably a 2026 guy if I had to guess, but I'm definitely pulling for him, and I know the coaching staff is too.
Yeah, and also God's plan too. Anything can happen. That's a great way to look at that, Clint. Noah's going to be highly praised by Kalen DeBoer. I remember that too. It was a big get when we got him with them. Pull the next one for us real quick. Stephen M. Smith hit this one. Or Herb, no, could you pass him? Herb, hit this one from Scott real quick.
No, I mean, I'll probably end up passing this one too. I know he mentioned briefly that he thought the offensive line looked good, but I haven't heard the specifics, I guess, about where he feels like everybody's slotting in. And there's also, I mean, just to piggyback on this one, there's a lot of Proctor comments and questions in the chat too as well. So I think that's where a lot of people start when they start asking about offensive line.
Okay, so Stephen M. Smith, hit this offensive line for us real quick, brother.
I mean, everybody's going to have questions about Proctor, but it goes back to what I was saying. If you're going to take Proctor from left tackle, who do you put there, right? Who do you put there that you feel the most comfortable? This guy can be a stonewall guy at left tackle to keep your edge benders, rushes from getting to the quarterback. Proctor's right. Proctor at this point, 360 is going to be at left tackle. What's going to be interesting here is the depth that Coach Chris Kapovic has put together on the offensive line. You've got Ongasenganin that can play guard or tackle. You've got Rock Montgomery who can play guard or center. You have Cam Dewberry, the transfer from A&M, who looks good at guard. You got Arkell Anguam, the transfer from Ball State, who's got an NFL body at 6'6", 330. I think, Clint, he's been working at right tackle throughout the spring. Him along with Wilkin Formby. And then you got my guy Casey Poe, who they've been kind of grooming to take over once, Caden Proctor makes that leap off to the NFL. And then you got big old Will Sanders, of whom Tyler Booker said, look, he's next up. And Will Sanders has done some pretty freakish things in the weight room. And then not to mention the group of freshmen you just signed with Carroll, DeBose, Jackson Lloyd, and Mal Waldrop. So it's crazy depth in the offensive line. We know Parker Brailsford is firm at center. Parker B, he's not going anywhere. You know what you have here in Jaden Roberts at right guard. You want him to stay healthy. You got Proctor at left tackle. It's the other two spots that you're asking, okay, who could fit here to give us what we need in terms of not just pass protection, not just run blocking, but overall cohesiveness?
That's a great way to look at that. And I think as the best question, it goes to who you're going to take away to put them there. Where you're going to cut a play, where you're going to cut minutes at to put them there. Just like if you say, oh, that's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Okay, well, take the top 5, and who is he better than those 5? Okay, that's how you eliminate that question, because people you'll get those lunch talks about at work, talk about, oh, he's top 5. When you say Julio Jones, top 5 wide receiver, okay, then so name out who would be the top 5. Everybody's going to have a different opinion, but there's that range, That's a different talk for a different thing. We don't get into all that. But pull the next question, Justin, right here from Joe. It's actually to Clint real quick. Clint, hit this one from our man Joe real quick.
Yeah. Joe asked, do you think that coach will let all 3 quarterbacks play this year to make sure no one transfers? I think we need at least 3 quarterbacks in the roster in case one of them gets hurt. I think he's going to be strategic in how he manages the quarterback battle. I mean, when you talk about when you talk to someone about what happened in the scrimmage on Friday, Keelan Russell, we heard, started off the scrimmage a little bit rocky, but he picked it up and he really did some good things, had some wow moments. But he worked pretty much exclusively with the second and third team offense. Austin Mack was the one who was really from what I understand, he exclusively got first team reps. Austin Mack kind of working as the 2 saw some first team and saw some second team. So it's like, Austin Mack's still technically in that battle. Like, why would he leave? I don't think they're going to name a starting quarterback after the spring. I think they're going to carry this all the way into fall camp. And then by that point, it's like, what do you want to do? Some guys get their feelings hurt when they lose the job and they bounce to the transfer portal just kind of out of spite. But if you're being smart and strategic about it, you want to stick around. You want to get those practice reps. What are you going to do? Go work with a quarterback trainer for a few months and then transfer somewhere else? Like, it would just be better to get some of those scout team reps. You never know what could happen. Maybe an injury happens with Ty Simpson, and now next thing you know, maybe it's Austin Mack, or maybe, something happens with the top two quarterbacks, and now it's you. Like, it's just better for you to stick it out at that point. I do think, Austin is being given the opportunities where it's like there will be no reason for him to bounce. But at the same time, you never know what guys will do. But will they all three play in the fall? Once the fall hits, it's like I think they're just trying to get to fall where they can guarantee in 2025 we have these three quarterbacks.
Right.
You want four, no doubt about it. Will they get four? How many guys are willing to come from the transfer portal and be the fourth string quarterback, or be compete for the third string job or whatever? I thought Alabama several years ago, in that short, very brief period where they got Gardner Minshew from East Carolina to commit to come be quarterback 3 or quarterback 4, that was like huge. Like, that's the best possible scenario that you can look at when you've got a clear quarterback battle that is not going to include anybody you bring in. And then, of course, Mike Leach tells him, if you come play for me, I'll make you the college football's leading passer. And that's exactly what he did. Now he's playing in the NFL. So, that just anytime someone asks about positions, like, hey, can we go get this guy out of the transfer portal? Well, if you can guarantee their ability to compete for a job, they might be willing to do that. But if it's like, hey, come be our third string quarterback, how many really you can get guys who are willing to do that, but how talented are they? Because the talented guys, they're leaving their current job because they want to go play somewhere. So that's what you always got to take into consideration when it comes to these guys. And I think the staff knows it, and they're going to make sure that Austin Mack is given the opportunities to earn the starting job, just like Ty Simpson is. And he's going to be well taken care of as far as getting some opportunities in the fall to continue that quarterback battle.
I agree.
And I feel like if you're getting good NIL, and you're a freshman or a sophomore, why would you jump the gun and try to go somewhere else? And there's no guarantee you're going to start for another team or be successful with that other team. So the grass is not always greener. Just stick it out a couple years and then make your decision.
Or also, JB, who's to say you go to the other team in the NIL package isn't the same, if not better. So consideration as well.
Hey, listen, the grass is greener where you water it. All right, not where you go to. It's green where you water it. So you want your grass to be green? Water your own grass. All right. However you translate that into your life, JB, hit this last one for us, brother.
Hey, man, shout out to Corey Watts for the $5 super chat. Do you think our offense will look different with Ryan Grubb? I will say this. We're not going to have a quarterback running the ball 20 times a game. Put it like that. So, yes, it will look different in that circumstance. We will not have a quarterback running the ball more than the running backs.
No. And when Ty does run the ball, it will be a strictly run, more or less of a pressure situation than design. There will probably be one or two designs, maybe, like I said. But there will not be the ones he does scramble will be strictly on the fly. Play broke down and he made the best he did with his legs. You won't see a lot of that. I'm with you guys. It's been a great show though, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and make sure that you guys go over to my man. I'm going to let Clint let you guys know where his show is and what he does and everything he has going on. Make sure you guys head over to his podcast, his channel as well.
Yes, sir.
Like and subscribe to him. Clint, let the people know where they can find you at, your shows, and what you got going on so everybody can keep in touch with you too, brother.
And NIL deal for them hats.
Hey, that's right. If you guys want to go ahead and start that movement, I'm completely fine with it. I even wore the shirt. I thought maybe I'm just not wearing enough Columbia. Maybe if they'd see that I'm decked out in it. But I like comfortable stuff, and I got a weird shaped head, so these hats fit lovely. But yeah, you can find me over at the Cover Crimson YouTube channel. Mick Gillespie, myself. We got Jake Coker who does a lot of stuff with us. Mike Johnson during the season, he does a lot with us. But You know, the YouTube channel is kind of our primary thing, but we also got the complimentary message board, covercrimson.com. Always answer questions in there, kind of throw the scrimmage nuggets and all that stuff, like anything that you want in written form. I kind of don't do anything written right now. So anytime I have something I want to expand on or dive into as far as the long form stuff, the snap count observations after every game for the offense, the defense, I put all that stuff over at covercrimson.com. Great little community that we're building over there. So if you haven't already, definitely would recommend going to subscribe. And once again, fellas, I really appreciate y'all having me on. This has been a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, man. And also, guys, he will be on the Bama Standard Tuesday night, so make sure you check him out. That's our flagship show. Stephen M. Smith over there in the corners on that panelist as well. You'll see him too, Clint. And I know y'all know each other as well. JB, I know you had a show today breaking down, I think it was Alabama State. Something to do with that. Am I not mistaken, brother? Let the people know what you got going on, man, and everything to do with that, brother.
Yeah, man. So when I'm not on the Bama Standard Network, you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Sports Talking with JB, where we talk all types of sports, preferably football, basketball. I had some Final Four stuff, March Madness podcast. Going to have
a game last night, boy.
Yeah, man. Those games, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of that content, NFL stuff coming up, and actually, the show you was mentioning, I did a recap of the scrimmage game for Alabama State yesterday. They actually had a spring scrimmage game. They went offense, defense, but Bama don't want to do it, so it's neither here nor there. But no, I don't talk golf. I'm sorry, Josh Haley. I don't talk golf. but the main sport, and we're gonna add baseball to it as well. So follow me, Sports Talking with JB, on the YouTube channel. Go hit the subscribe button. Also on Wednesday nights, Crimson Dynasty with C. Payne and Dan James, sometimes Herb. And we talk Crimson Dynasty. We talk Bama sports, football, basketball, and all of the breaking news and all of the headlines. Wednesday night, 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, and here on Sunday night Talking Bama with the guys.
Sunday night Talking Bama, yes, sir. Herb, let the people know what you got going on, man, and where they can find you at and everything like that, brother.
Okay. Well, usually I am the fill-in, so you'll see me a lot of places on this network just randomly. Tomorrow I'll be on the opening kick, 7 o'clock tomorrow with Smoke Dixon. Always start off my week here with you guys on Talking Bama. We'll be streaming Herb and Raj podcast Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. You can check that over on our network, and soon you'll be able to check it out on the Bama Standard Network as well, so you won't have to go looking for us. And then, sadly, rip to our Thursday night show until next year. With Going Hard in the Paint was our other one. So check us out. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Raj_Herb.
We'll be back for Going Hard in the Paint on Thursday night. That'll come back. We'll bring that season 2 back. We'll put more info on that as it comes. Stephen M. Smith, how you doing, brother? And let the people know what you got going on and where they can find you at, big dog.
Well, on X, they can find me at Coaching M. Smith. On X at Coaching M. Smith. When I'm not, as y'all seen with the Pale City gear here on, when I'm not out there with those kids out there and Coach Chintry and staff out there, they can find me here on the Bama Standard Network. Tuesday, that being the flagship show with the Tribal Chief Justin, as he tries to keep all of us in line, more so Marvin Constant. But Justin tries to keep all of us in line. You can find us there Tuesday at 6. You can also find me here Talking Bama on Sundays at 7. And fans, I've mentioned this before. I'm making my return to have my own show, and it'll be on this network, Bama Visions. Hit the glasses there. Bama Visions will be Mondays from 9 to 10. So Monday from 9 to 10. That's starting tomorrow. It's tomorrow. Bama Visions.
Stephen M. Smith. Hey, for that, Stephen M. Smith, send me some stuff. I got to work on your intro. You just reminded me. I got to work on your intro for that. So send me some stuff, man. I'm gonna work on the intro for that too. I gotta get that done by tomorrow.
It'll be 9 a.m. It'll be a call in. Huh?
Okay.
It will be a call
in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm on the phone, boy. I'm on the phone.
It will be a call in, as y'all will get me now in the most candid way versus my 16 years knee deep in the ground as Clint's doing now?
That's fine. All right, guys.
You should have called it Breakfast with Stephen M.
Yeah.
I should have called it
Breaking bread. Breaking bread with Stephen M.
So now y'all hitting me with all the names now.
That's how we roll.
I didn't know it was gonna be in the morning.
Hey,
I didn't know it was gonna be a morning show. You trying to challenge First Take. You trying to challenge Stephen A. So you want to have your show at the same time as First Take.
Okay.
That's what it is. That's Stephen A. Smith, Stephen M. Smith. That's gonna be the battle of the Stephen. Well, guys.
Okay. So this I'm gonna do. So tomorrow when I start it, I'm gonna ask the fans for what y'all think the name is. Should be. But then I may circle it back to making the name Breakfast with Stephen M. I might just take JB's reference.
Breakfast with Stephen
Call
M.
it
That
second
ain't a
take.
bad one. Call it
Second take.
call it second seal. Oh, boy, that's a good one, boy. That's funny, bro. Make sure y'all join us this Saturday. 8A games coming in. It's free to come, guys. Make sure y'all come out. I'm going to be there. The whole Talk'n Bama crew will be. We'll be out there, guys. We're going to do a pop-up show as well. We're also going to interview some fans, chat with everybody as well. So if you see us out there, make sure you stop and see us. It's going to be a great time, guys. Follow me. I am Jay Clays across all social media. Roll Tide Nation on TikTok. Almost 250,000 followers on there. Hit us up, guys. We got a lot going on. It's going to be great. Thank Clint again for coming by, giving us the great info, man, and spending your time with us, brother. Thank you so much. And in the famous words of the Looney Tunes, man, like that's all, folks. That's it, baby.